My name is Eleanor Whitman. I'm 74 years old, and lately I find myself missing the version of me I abandoned to please other people. I don't say that lightly. I don't even say it dramatically. It's just something that has been sitting with me, heavier each year, especially in the mornings when the house is quiet and I'm the only one awake. There's a certain kind of silence that only comes when most of your life is already behind you. I'm not telling this because I need forgiveness or applause. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left to pretend I don't know the truth, and because someone listening might still have time I no longer do. These days, my life is small, not in a sad way, just contained. I wake up early because my body does it on its own now. I make tea. I sit by the window and watch the same tree I've watched for 15 years. The branches are thinner than they used to be, or maybe my eyes are just tired. I think about time more than I ever did when I had plenty of it. When you're young, time feels like a wide field. You wander. You assume there will always be another path, another season, another chance to stop and rest. When you're old, time feels more like a narrow hallway. You can still walk, but you can see the door at the end. I didn't always feel this way. For most of my life, I felt busy, useful, needed. I thought that was the same thing as being fulfilled. It took me a long time to realize it wasn't. I grew up in a house where being agreeable was considered a virtue. My mother was a quiet woman. She believed in keeping the peace at all costs. My father worked hard, came home tired, and didn't have much patience for noise or emotion. I learned early that approval came from being easy, from not asking too much, from smiling even when I didn't feel like it, from saying yes before anyone had to ask twice. No one told me outright to erase myself. They didn't have to. I figured it out on my own. In my 20s, I thought I was making sensible choices. I married a man who was dependable. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't particularly curious either, but he wanted stability, and at that age, I thought stability was love. I had other dreams back then, not grand ones, quiet ones. I wanted to write. I wanted to live somewhere near the ocean. I wanted a life that felt a little bit mine. But those dreams felt selfish or impractical or childish. At least that's how they were framed when I mentioned them out loud. So I stopped mentioning them. I took a job that paid steadily. I learned how to organize my days around other people's needs. I learned how to anticipate disappointment before it arrived and adjust myself accordingly. I told myself I was being mature. When our children were born, everything else moved even further into the background. And I don't regret my children. I want to be very clear about that. Loving them was real, still is. But somewhere in those years, I became a woman whose entire identity was built around being useful to everyone else. I was the one who remembered birthdays, the one who packed lunches, the one who stayed late at work, because it was easier than going home and admitting I was tired of being needed. I didn't think of it as sacrifice. I thought of it as responsibility. Responsibility sounds noble. It hides a lot. The strange thing is, nothing felt wrong at the time. Or maybe I should say nothing felt wrong enough to stop. That's how it happens, I think. You don't wake up one day and decide to abandon yourself. You just keep postponing yourself until you forget who you were postponing. There were moments, though, small ones. I remember standing in the kitchen one evening, maybe in my late 30s, holding a notebook I hadn't opened in years. I used to write in it at night. Short pieces, observations, things I noticed that no one else seemed to care about. I flipped through a few pages and felt embarrassed, like I'd found evidence of a younger, more naive version of myself. I put it back in the drawer. I told myself I didn't have time for that kind of thing anymore. There was a woman I worked with who used to travel alone. She talked about cities the way some people talk about old friends. I listened politely and felt a dull ache I couldn't quite name. I told myself I was happy for her. I told myself a lot of things. The years moved the way they always do, quietly, without ceremony. Children grow, jobs change, faces in photographs start to look unfamiliar. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It arrived in fragments. In conversations I avoided because I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. In invitations I declined because it was easier to stay home. In opinions I swallowed because it felt safer to agree. None of it seemed tragic. That's the dangerous part. It all seemed reasonable. I became very good at reading rooms, at adjusting my tone, at being the version of myself that caused the least friction. People liked me. They still do. They describe me as kind, dependable, low maintenance. I don't think they ever really knew me. I'm not sure I knew me either by the end. The turning point didn't come with fireworks or shouting. It came with a phone call on an ordinary afternoon. My husband died unexpectedly when I was 62, a heart attack. Quick, they said, as if that was meant to comfort me. In the weeks after, people brought casseroles and spoke softly. They asked how I was holding up. I said the things you're supposed to say. What I didn't say was that along with grief, there was something else, something quieter and harder to explain. A strange sense of disorientation. For the first time in decades, there was no one whose preferences I needed to consider before making a decision. No one expecting dinner at a certain time. No one whose moods I tracked out of habit. I thought that freedom would feel like relief. Instead, it felt like standing in an empty room after the furniture has been removed. You can finally see the space, but you also realize how little is left. I didn't know what to do with myself. That's when it hit me. Not all at once, but enough to take my breath away. I had spent most of my life becoming someone other people were comfortable with. And in doing so, I had let the truest parts of me grow quiet, then silent, then gone. There were things I could never get back. Time, obviously, certain chances, certain versions of relationships that only exist at specific ages. But there was something else, too, a familiarity with myself that I had lost. I tried for a while to reclaim it. I enrolled in a writing class at the community center. I felt ancient sitting among people half my age. They were kind, but they were also busy becoming who they would be. I wrote a few pieces. They were fine, but they felt like echoes, not beginnings. I visited the ocean once alone. I stood there longer than I needed to. The water was cold. The wind was sharp. I felt both grateful and unbearably sad. Grateful that I was there at all. Sad that it had taken me so long. There are regrets you can soften, apologize for, repair. And then there are regrets that just sit with you, heavy, unmovable. I regret not speaking when my voice mattered more. I regret assuming there would be more time. I regret confusing approval with love. I regret how easily I believed that my desires were optional. I don't blame anyone else for this. That's important to say. No one forced me to disappear. I cooperated. That's a hard thing to admit. As you get older, you realize how little you'll actually be remembered for, not in a bitter way, just in a factual one. People remember fragments, a role you played, a function you served. They don't remember the thoughts you never shared, the paths you didn't take, the person you might have been. Sometimes late at night, I think about the woman I was before I learned how to shrink. I wonder if she would recognize me now. I think she would be polite about it. If you're listening to this and you're younger than I am, I won't tell you what to do. I don't believe in that. Life is complicated, circumstances are real. But I will tell you this, the cost of abandoning yourself is rarely immediate. That's why it's so easy to ignore. It feels like a series of small, reasonable decisions, until one day you look back and realize you built a life that everyone else was comfortable in, but you never quite lived inside. If this meant something to you, if it stirred something you haven't had words for, you're not alone. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to make dramatic changes. Just notice yourself before you get too used to not being there. As for me, I live quietly now. I tend my small routines. I speak a little more honestly than I used to, even when my voice shakes. I don't have many years left. I can feel that. My body reminds me daily. But I try, in whatever time remains, to at least be present with myself, to not abandon her again. It's not redemption, it's acceptance, and some days that has to be enough.